Welcome to Cast of Creators. We're your hosts. I'm Nelson Thal.
And I'm Casie Stewart. We've spent our careers in media and publishing, and now we're setting the stage for creative people who inspire us to share their stories.
Cast of Creators is presented by our new browser called Hover. It's unlike any browser you've used because it's social.
And Hover makes browsing fun. You can follow people and your favorite sites to discover and discuss the web all in one place. Download Hover, that's HBR, for iOS or Android.
Today's guest is Morgan Ross. He's a musician, actor, and founder of the Old Toronto series that you might already follow on Instagram.
Well, Drake does. We chatted about Toronto history, Morgan's character on Murdoch Mysteries, all while sipping Old Toronto beer. And I might have had too many. Here we go.
Morgan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Unbelievable. I'll give you a cheers. Your beer.
Oh, I am okay with this.
Yeah, so we had a special delivery today because Morgan has get into it, but with Old Toronto and Long
Slice Brewery. We have our own beer, which is kind of ballin'.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Major flex.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever, we have mutual friends and late night ran out of alcohol after, Lauren and Brock after their wedding. Where's the booze? And I was like, don't worry, guys.
I have a beer.
Show up with an actual giant thing of beer.
It was actually
no worries.
the rescue.
No worries at all.
Yeah.
Well, this Old Toronto brand is awesome. I have been following you for years.
Yeah.
And, one of the missions that you have is really to create a more evolved community identity for people in Toronto. And it's definitely doing that because when I watch the history, you can't but help to get a better sense of community and be proud of the city. And when I was reading about you and learning about you, one of the shockers was you are not from Toronto.
I am not from Toronto. And a lot of people pick up on that because I have a tattoo of British Columbia on my neck. I've got the flag of British Columbia on my hand. If I, for whatever reason, take off my clothes, I've got a giant thing of Vancouver on my thing.
Almost there.
Shocker, I'm actually from Vancouver. But I always say this, you love and you hate wherever you're from. And I love and hate Vancouver. It's beautiful. But when you look at a city that you were raised in, you look at it differently than people look at it when they move there as an adult. Yeah. So for me, I fell in love with Toronto, and I see all these things that people from here haven't noticed. So I view Toronto as as a guest.
Yes.
And now I call it home, and I love it.
I love your appreciation for it, but also, that initial spark of interest. So as you were sort of realizing that this city was special, you started diving into creating content about it? Like, how did the connection between, the city's really actually better than people are saying it is?
Yeah.
How does that then turn into
Well, Old Toronto came out of the fact that I went to in university, I studied history, Canadian history. So it was always just like a subject of interest for me. And my appreciation of Toronto history started with my dog years ago, God rest his soul. And we would be walking around and I would start looking around. I remember it. I would start looking up and I would see all the telephone wires and I remember thinking, wow, this seems older than I realized, all the poles and on the power lines and everything. And so I started thinking, okay, and when was this created? When was this built? Went home, Googled it. Next thing I know, the next day I'm out with my dog again. I look at some buildings. I'm like, wow, those are older than I realized. Go back, Google it. And then it's a sinkhole. It's a wormhole. You're just like, holy shit.
There's all these old things.
Holy shit. I'm like, all of a sudden you're day 10 of learning about the history of power lines in Toronto. And I had my dog to thank for that.
Wow.
So
And those power lines go way back.
Oh yeah. So I mean, the city is. I mean, I love Toronto. I love the architecture. I love the power grids. I love all these weird little things about the city, and you know, it's fascinating to me. And if you let yourself kind of read into things, you know, it's a, as I said, it's a wormhole. It's such a lovely city, and it's so easy to be geeky about this city.
Yeah. Well, you've ultimately created a fantastic wormhole for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Everyone else you started this,
nerd revolution.
Yeah, and everyone else can do a deep dive. I know that I've started, I've watched one video before I know it. I'm in the old Toronto total wormhole. It's like I've watched 4 or 5 videos in a row, and
exactly.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I'm looking to do, right? Short consumable content that people can kind of learn something in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in our era of being distracted so easily, twofold. People really are into learning things.
Mm-hmm.
I really find that they are now more than they used to. People want to learn some substantive, interesting things and be smarter. I think it's cool right now to be smart. So we're also lazy. So if you can learn something new, especially about your own city, in 5, 6, 10 minutes, then you feel empowered.
Yeah.
You walk down the street next time and you tell your friend, you see those power lines up there? 112 years old.
Yeah.
Look.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
it's cool to know that stuff.
That's an extreme example, but
no, it's a good one.
Yeah. If people want to walk down the street and tell their friends and have that flex of, get this, I know this. And it makes them feel good.
And then it passes on the education to someone else.
Yeah. And the more people know about their neighborhood, the more they care about the neighborhood.
Yeah.
The more likely they are to pick up the garbage that's strewn on the ground in that neighborhood. So I really actually believe that spreading the knowledge of community helps that community in numerous ways. Yeah. And that's, to be honest, that's why I do it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I can imagine if anybody was dating an out-of-towner and they did a nice deep dive across your content, then they invite them to the city and they start spitting some knowledge, that out-of-towner, she's going to be incredibly impressed. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, being smart is cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like I often, will have friends come from out of town, and often what I do is we just go on walkabout. We just go around, and I love knowing things. Sorry, that's what you going on walkabout?
No, I'm just picturing you walking through the city, being a great guy.
I love
Well, Casie also knows everybody in the city, so going on walkabout probably means
stopping here and saying hi here.
Have people say hi to her everywhere.
It's definitely a fun time.
Yeah, the waterfront, you stand here. You could say
nerdy stuff. I mean,
the Toronto waterfront. I think I've watched that video. We watched it earlier, but it's just learning about that was so cool.
There are so many things in this city that are fascinating. Let me digress. I think every city is fascinating once you realize and look into it. That said, Toronto is the best, so I'm gonna run with that. But as you said, the Toronto shoreline. I have a video about the Toronto shoreline and the history of that, and that is such. People find that interesting because so many people don't realize that when you're by the lake now, that didn't exist. And the Harbor 60 restaurant, that big interesting building. I guess it's on Harbor Street, probably. That was the Harbor Commission building. So that building, I think, 500 meters north of the shoreline, or however far it is, was the shoreline. So, I mean, when you tell people that, they're like, what do you mean? Yeah. You show them pictures and they're like, what do you mean there was a German U-boat where I'm standing in 1919 or whatever? Weird.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Weird stuff, but it's cool to know. And, the more you know about your city, the more you probably care about it.
Yeah.
Anybody else in any other major city hubs that you sort of connect with that is doing something similar to what you're doing?
I was asked that recently. actually, when I was finishing up my master's in Canadian history, the department at York asked me for my thesis to do it on my actual project, which, I mean, I was like, really? Is that allowed? Can I, I've been wanting to talk about myself for years. But one of the main things of that was trying to find out if similar projects existed outside of the city. And what I kind of concluded was there were a whole bunch of things doing interesting things that I love and I respect, but they weren't amalgamating them in the same way that I do. Mm-hmm. So, there were so many, each city has something similar of like, oh, here's some photos from the past.
Right.
Here's a video about the past. But I take a lot of pride in kind of doing a whole bunch of things, short form mini docs, a lot of kind of like before and after historical photos. I've done some events, do a lot of like TV appearances talking about these things. I mean, as far as I can tell, I have a beer, right? We've kind of become a marketing agency for historical content, for brands, for the city, for BIAs, for a whole bunch of things. So what I've concluded is there's no one doing anything at all like what me and my small team are doing.
Yeah, I'd agree. I looked around just different cities like Chicago and LA and the breadth of content you've created and how, it's classy. It's edited extremely well.
Thank you.
It looks like it's produced by like the History Channel. Or something.
Oh, it's cooler than the History Channel.
But
we can talk about the History Channel. I have some beef with the History Channel.
Oh, fantastic.
Ooh.
Well, so the History Channel in Canada always copies my content.
Oh.
Always. And it's not even subtle. They used to kind of credit it of like, credit Old Toronto.
Like they know, they're totally watching and they're like, here we go.
And literally lifting photo by photo the exact same content that's obscure.
Terrible.
Oh my God, I actually I had an influencer that did that to me once and I hated it.
It is. I mean, I went after them at one point trying to get all my supporters to go after them and they did. But then I realized, I just wanted to avoid the whole thing. So I took all this stuff down, but I'll chalk it down to the fact that their social media is probably people working on some sort of co-op, right? So if you have your co-op marketing student from X university, they don't really know.
They don't have the same care.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I'm learning.
Pretty easy to follow in just copy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But you're an asshole if you do it. So
yeah, exactly.
Right. So fuck that. But I'm totally cool with people copying like roughly what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. There's probably a dozen channels or platforms in Toronto now that most of them didn't exist before I did this. Yeah. I love that. Mm-hmm. I am happy that they're doing that because they're promoting Toronto history. And they're only kind of, well, first of all, I didn't create the whole concept of doing historical stuff. And I've taken inspiration from other ones. So as long as they're not just like, verbatim taking the thing, cool. So I encourage all these accounts. There's some really, really hardworking, cool. Shout out to a guy that does the transit time warp.
Oh, cool.
Trevor.
Cool.
Nerdy dude. He makes me look just like the coolest cat in Toronto because he embraces how nerdy he is.
I love that.
I mean, I've never met him in person, but I feel as though there's no way he would be as nerdy as he presents himself online. I say that in a loving way, but he's so dedicated to transit history in Toronto.
Cool.
He's got like the little outfits and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I really like
when people go all
dedicated nerds.
Do it with enthusiasm.
Oh yeah.
Like if you're going to do it, go do it
all
with enthusiasm.
I mean, that's like me wearing like some sort of Sherlock Holmes thing with like a magnifying glass. That's just like straight up history nerd. But there's some really charming people out there working hard, like Trevor and a few other people.
Cool.
And I respect that.
Yeah, I guess it brings more, like you said earlier, the more people learn about their city and the history of things, the more they care about it. So more people doing that, really only build the community in the city.
Huge.
Yeah.
I mean, the power of, I'm very proud of what I've been able to do with this. I use it. I try to stay away from politics. I'm a lefty, no doubt. But part of the power comes from the fact that it is not overly political.
Right.
And that's how I maintain a whole bunch of people. In fact, Old Toronto is one of the only things I can think of bringing, my neighbor who's an asshole right-wing guy, my neighbor who's this asshole left-wing guy. And they're like, yeah, look at those power lines.
Yeah.
Wow. This is great. Right? So, but it's this kind of unifying thing.
It can bring people together no matter what.
And it has. So that's why I avoid overtly political things.
Yeah.
That said, I sneak in a whole bunch of political things. Like immigration. Immigration is a very important thing for me. I care about it. I studied specifically Canadian immigration history. I think it's hugely important. So I like, showcasing the struggle of older immigrant waves of population and kind of hope that people connect it to the current ones. Meaning like, okay, so when the Syrians were arriving, they were getting a lot of backlash. So I was just emphasizing the fact that when the Italians arrived, when the Irish arrived, when the Portuguese arrived, the exact same arguments.
Right.
Lazy, the religion doesn't connect with our religion, dirty, just won't fit in.
Yeah.
Dangerous. And it's the exact same argument for communities now that we're so proud of being here. So that's political, but it's also just pointing out historical truths.
Right.
So, if I'm using it for bringing people together like that, then I'm okay with that kind of politics.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely have to tread lightly, I'm sure.
Well, there's no, I'm avoiding all the photos of Justin Trudeau flexing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I avoid even Pierre Trudeau because I know it's just going to start a quagmire on there.
Yeah, have you actually had any, a couple things I know about Old Toronto is I know that Drake follows Old Toronto. That was I think a Blog.geo article.
Drake's like a diehard fan.
Yeah, so but have you had any posts, since creating a quagmire, I guess. But have you had any posts that have created? What are some things that have really either ruffled the feathers or got people excited? Caused a riot?
Excited? There's a lot of things that I've been able to do that I'm really proud of, but there's also a few things that I really, really stirred the pot and poked the bear. And
did you do it on purpose, or was it? You didn't.
Sometimes I do it on purpose because
I know you.
I'm mad, or I'm just wanting to entertain myself. But I remember this one post that I got a lot of flack for, and I somewhat understand it. It's this photo from I think the Toronto Star in the 70s, early 70s probably, mid 70s, of some exotic dancers, some strippers from the Yonge Street strip there, shining the shoes of men, right?
Oh.
And they're topless. And at first glance, I completely understand why this looks like a misogynist photo and post, right? Except for the fact that it was a fundraiser for the unionization of the dancers.
Right.
So, I got a lot of it exploded of Old Toronto's this misogynist thing. A, I'm just posting a Toronto Star historical photo, by the way. And B, I would argue these women trying to unionize and getting attention by this promotion is super empowering and
absolutely.
And everything. So I would argue the empowerment coming from this photo. But I got eaten alive and I took it down, but I mean, I understand why people would see that photo and take that thing.
Well,
I just wish they had kind of read what I was. I mean, to be honest, all I said was, this is a photo of them doing a promotion for the unionization.
Right.
I didn't have any of my own opinions on this.
Right.
Yeah.
I just simply
It was
said,
historical content.
Wow.
here is what this
But I
thing
think
is.
people are, like you said, two things that people want to learn, but they're lazy. And, we are in, you scroll, and some people are keyboard warriors, and they'll look at something and they'll just rage out, but they don't actually read what is happening.
Two things, correct? And let's add on to that. So some people do get angry because they didn't read the thing. They just saw this photo that does look misogynist. But if they had read that two paragraphs, then, well, sometimes they're just so angry at their initial feeling that they won't even let that sink in.
They're so angry they can't read.
Yeah. And then secondly, some people are just there to cause trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you have to deal with that. And it's really defeating. I had a comment
It is.
from someone yesterday, posted this thing. So Metrolinx was about to tear down these trees at Osgood Hall, these 200-year-old trees. So that pissed me off. Don't fuck with trees.
Yeah.
Right? So I kind of, a while back, I encouraged the followers to complain to Metrolinx. Across the platforms, I had close to 1,000 people like aggressively go after Metrolinx, being like, do not tear down these trees. Because they had promised that they weren't and all this stuff. And then I see yesterday that Metrolinx has agreed to, like, in the short term, stop and not tear down these trees. Yeah. And like, shout out to Global TV, who also let me do my on camera thing to try to save these trees.
Mm-hmm.
So I view it as such like a point of pride that we were able to, when we played a part in stopping this.
Yeah.
200-year-old trees, they were just going to tear it up just for like a inquiry into the potential of
put up a parking lot.
Yeah.
Now they're
Very
just going
singing.
there and putting
Very
those
Joni
Beatles.
Mitchell.
Those.
Joni Mitchell. You bring up Joni Mitchell. We're in Yorkville right now, so she was up the street.
Oh, really? Is that the Toronto?
Oh yeah, we're in
History
Yorkville,
Facts?
right up the street.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
That'd be Riverboat.
Neil Young used to play the streets here when he was homeless.
Oh yeah,
Really?
I mean,
Yeah, Neil
Oh, my
Young's
God.
father worked for the Star.
yeah, he's
Really?
a
Okay.
sports writer.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we're we're right in the middle of Joni Mitchell, Buffy St. Marie, Gordon Lightfoot, Neil Young. Everything started at the Riverboat and the different coffee houses up the street. But back to what I'm saying, I posted this thing, and then this one guy was like, why are you saving Osgood trees when you should be saving like the black community on Eglinton? And I was like, that's a false dichotomy, right? I mean,
You mean because they're putting an LRT?
no, because, well, they're putting a transit on both streets, right? But he got mad at me. I think he was just going to be angry
He
no
was
matter
just
what.
mad.
He was mad at you because you put your effort into
Into
Something.
saving the trees. Yeah.
The trees.
But-
versus championing his cause.
Yeah, but I mean, his cause is admirable. So he tags all the accounts proactively trying to draw attention to the plight of the Eglinton West community and gentrification. But what he doesn't know is that I've done numerous projects with those exact groups
Right.
in the recent past, and I do fully support those groups,
Yeah.
and they do great work. So I was going to comment being like, Old Toronto has teamed up with
All the people you tag.
all the people that you tagged, and I personally really respect all their work and will continue supporting them. So it's just like he was just angry.
It's very hard, especially when it comes to public transit. It's very hard to, on one hand, complain about there not being enough public transit,
Mm.
and on the other hand, complain
that
about
they're gonna build
whenever they're building.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So it's
I live where they're building, there's a new like bridge in my whole area. I'm like Junction Triangle.
Mhm.
There's building a whole new like thinger that's like an overpass. Transit. Wow, great description.
It's a
But
bridge. It sounds
a
like
bridge.
a bridge.
It's a bridge
Uh-huh.
for a
Tell me
go
more.
train, but they're building all these parks, and I think that it's cool because it's going to really change the neighborhood. It's like 2 blocks north of Bloor, which I thought was so far away. But I mean, it's actually a really lovely neighborhood. And I think that it's great. But oh my God, are people so mad? They're so mad.
I mean, I understand building transit large projects really does disrupt things for years, especially Eglinton. Terrible stuff happened on Eglinton for years in terms of companies and the businesses not being supported. Anyways, we're digressing. But what we were saying is, sorry, I'm burping because of all this fantastic old Toronto Series long slice beer.
Pour that aggressively, Casie.
I know.
It's a little too good.
But you know what, though? Like circling back to the nerd friend of yours who has the transit account. It's too bad there's not more transit history. Like if there was more subway history, you'd get some more subways around.
He's doing great.
Oh, well, yeah. But that's because the streetcars, like we're one of the original cities to put in, I believe, there's a streetcar system.
Well, there's numerous ones, but they're
like San Francisco.
Well, San Francisco has a couple of our old actual streetcars.
Our old streetcars?
Yeah, there's a couple there.
Would you imagine we ship them out there?
Around the world has a whole bunch of our old streetcars, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, because when we're done with them, there's so many smaller places or places around the world that still believe that they're usable. We just got the fancy Bombardier ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Alexandria in Egypt has, last I knew, or at least dozens and dozens and dozens
really? That's
our
cool.
Bombardier. It's nice that they're Canadian made.
Of our old ones. So no, they have our old ones to whatever the
like the trolley.
I think they're called PPC ones. But
yeah.
So welcome to the History Podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
I find it all very fascinating.
You've done anything on the Allen Road? You have video on the Allen?
I've done some stuff on, it's the Spadina Expressway, right? So I've done some stuff on that. The Spadina Expressway was going to absolutely tear apart Toronto.
Yeah.
And it was stopped. So
it would have been nice, though, to get it in.
Well,
when you're sitting on the DVP in traffic.
If you're in a car and you're a dick, it would have been perfect. But what it would have... So the Allen Road, which the Allen Road is going south. I'm being totally serious. It's the Allen Road is going south, and then it just stops at Eglinton.
Yeah.
Right? So it would have continued, and it would have taken out all the area by Casaloma. It would have taken out most of the annex. Would have taken down. Kensington Market would have been torn down just for this road, and I just don't think that. Culturally, that would be insane.
Yeah, if it goes through Kensington, rips out Kensington.
Yeah, but also the annex is beautiful too. So it would have just, in my opinion, devastated what if anyone finds Kensington Market charming or the annex charming, realize that they would have been obliterated if the Spadina Expressway went through.
Oh, thank God that didn't come. So they're like great parts of our city.
But that's civic engagement. So it was going to until this grassroots thing led by Margaret Atwood and all the fancy people of Toronto in the era and stuff like that. My mom was part of that, and these people really stood up and said the culture of our city is more important than getting there slightly faster.
Yeah.
So it's that NIMBYism, right? Not in my backyard, but whatever. I think culture in cities is important, and I hope to promote that.
Yeah.
Looking at the history of Toronto, would you say Toronto's been well planned? Like, has there been a good brain trust planning this stuff, looking at the future of the city, or is this city sort of...
Yeah, no, I think overall, it's so tempting to always rag on a city, right? People always rag on Toronto. They tear down everything. They didn't think this through. But I actually think overall, it's fairly well thought out. I really do. People always say, they tore down everything in the 70s and 50s. Fairly accurate. But we also kept a whole bunch. And through civic bylaws and planning, we disallow the tearing down of so many different things. So, there's rules for neighborhoods, there's a whole bunch of rules where you can't build above a certain height.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And I think most of us really love that.
Yeah, I like that
I think the result of that in London, England, has been beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it maintains the aesthetic of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, there were efforts on Queen West a few years ago that I kind of got all of our old Toronto people to kind of fight against. It did end up getting stopped because they were wanting to enlarge things.
Yeah.
So
on Queen Street, right? I remember that. I saw that.
But how do you balance not wanting transit or highways to take stuff out, not wanting stuff to go too high, yet wanting affordable housing? Like, how does it all...
I mean, those are two different things, though.
No, but like they all basically limit density, right? Like,
I mean,
like
I think that's a valid
density,
thing. But we do have density in certain areas of the city. So as long as those are built upon transit lines, that's one way to do it. I mean, like along the Bloor subway line, there's a lot of dense construction and stuff like that.
I guess
it's a complicated question, though.
Yeah,
right,
it is very complicated.
It's such
do a whole podcast
it's
on
such
that.
an aggravating compromise because you can really understand both sides of the
I really
argument.
can.
That's the annoying thing.
I really can.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no easy answer.
No.
And anyone saying, oh, that guy's ruining it or that guy's ruining it, I mean, I think there's a lot of nuance to it.
Right. But you know what, actually, what you just said is quite nice in the sense that if you build up along transit, like if you're going to commit to buildings, do them along transit and sort of spare everything else in a sense.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why there's a lot of towers around Kipling
and also there's it's 99 Sudbury used to be like a hotspot for a lot of events back in the day. And I was there for a shoot the other day. That whole building is gone, and I guess there's a new transit station going there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a transit station, but
something.
The
because
Queen,
there's
the
all
Queen
the
subway that's going in is going to absolutely alter everything. It's going to start around Don Valley on Queen East, near there, go all the way to past, in between Spadina and Bathurst, and then jog like on an angle towards CNE.
Yeah.
So you're going to have...
That's a huge line.
Yeah, and Queen Street is going to be blocked off, including all the businesses, for years at a time. So Much Music, the old Much Music building is being sold.
Really? Oh my God, $2.99?
Yeah. So that's being sold
that's so iconic.
Yeah, but the intersection will be blocked off for years.
Right, like Bathurst and Eglinton sort of type thing.
Yeah, exactly, like Bathurst and Eglinton.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
So
is this an LRT or a subway? Subway.
So for the next, they say 7 years or whatever, it's going to be a lot
right, so
longer
that's like
than
12.
That. So all those businesses are going to be blocked off for years. You're going to see tourism in Toronto take a hit. You're going to see...
Yeah, that's really too bad.
It's like a bite the bullet. You almost
have to do it. You literally have to do it for...
Yeah.
Through the years, in this building specifically, I was in the bathroom and it started shaking. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we are above a subway station.
Did I do something wrong? But it was the subway below us, and that was built. So that also did something similar. Right?
Yeah.
We're north of, let me think where we are on the subway line. This would have been...
This station, yeah.
I have to think about it. I'm not sure this was one of the original subway stops, though. So, whatever. In the 60s or whatever it was, similar things would have happened here. That's why this building's probably built in the 60s.
Mm-hmm. And I guess where's Lower Bay? This is Bay, and then Lower Bay.
Very, very close to where we are right now.
Yeah, because I guess that must have been one of the oldies.
Lower Bay was only open for about a year. It was so that would have been the 60s.
Got it. Interesting.
Creepy.
Yeah, have you done a video on Lower Bay? Because I think I would love to know why and what happened there.
There's a lot of ambiguity about what happened.
Something weird. I feel like, was there something weird that happened? It
kind of actually goes down and probably just like poor planning.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking conspiracy, like something weird goes, like some freaky thing happened.
No, it was probably just like They screwed it up because the ridership was really, really low going there.
Right.
So they were like, this doesn't make any sense.
Got it.
What is this? Lower Bay?
You don't know Lower Bay Station is a secret subway? It's around here. It's
secret.
It's like a secret subway station. There was like vans just at a skateboard thing down there last weekend.
It's the old hidden subway
It's like an old hidden subway station. You don't know
Wow.
it? Oh, wow.
I mean, back in the day, it was like
old and it's hidden.
Yeah.
So
Back
I
in the
know
day-
all about it. How would I?
It's old and hidden. And it's underground.
So there's two. There's
can never
actually
see it.
two hidden subway stations. It's just that one actually briefly was open. The other one at Queen just never actually opened because they never finished it.
Oh, wow.
So it's not it's just the beginning of creating it rather than the whole thing. So there were two that are sort of quote unquote hidden.
Oh, interesting. Hot facts with old Toronto.
History podcast.
So are you a skier or are you a snowboarder?
I do both.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I mean, in Vancouver, I had my seasons pass for Grouse and Seymour, and I would go 3 days a week, go 1 day skiing, 2 days snowboarding, kind of switch up like that. I mean, when you have a season's pass, you can kind of
you just
do whatever the heck you
rock
want.
it up. Whatever you want. YOLO.
It's been a long
both
time.
in one day.
I mean, I spend time up in Collingwood now, but it's just you see Blue Mountain, and it's just it's upsetting.
Oh yeah, you can.
I literally
It's very tough,
like
though.
jokes aside, I grew up on a hill just outside of Vancouver in Burnaby.
Probably bigger.
And the hill that I walked up after school, I mean, this is no word of a lie. The hill I walked home to is literally bigger than Blue Mountain.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I look at it, I'm like, this can't be real.
You don't even want to know that I used to ski at Chicopee. Have you seen that hill? It's like a goosebump.
Chicopee.
Chicopee.
It's the cutest sounding mountain.
It's in Kitchener-Waterloo. I used to ski there. Chicopee.
It's 300 feet high.
It's like it's so
It's 5 turns.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like as high as when you go down.
No one
Broadview.
over 4 is allowed to go there.
No, it was nice. I mean, I used to ski a lot, but we used to go to Ellicottville in New York when I was a kid. A lot of
there a couple times.
yeah, Holiday
Valley.
or Hollymont. We would go to the private resort.
I grew up going to Stowe.
Yeah, I've heard of Stowe.
I went to Stowe a lot.
That's great.
And supposed to see in the summers, which had really bad skiing in Vermont in the summers. Smuggler's Notch. Shout out Smuggler's Notch.
How do you head out of Vancouver to go to Stowe?
My aunt had a place in Stowe, next to Stowe, Smuggler's Notch.
Stowe. I don't. Good. She's saying
It's a
Stowe.
it's a mountain in
Stowe.
Vermont.
Stowe is like where you go if you're like a socialite in New York.
Oh, well, clearly
Yeah.
I don't know Stowe.
It's
You
very
sure
much
don't.
like, I mean, I remember watching Mad Men and they're like, let's go to Stowe. And I was
No.
like, uh-huh. Just like me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know
It's
Stowe.
like fancy
Skiing.
rich person from Massachusetts or New York, Connecticut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like the New York Alps.
Yeah. New York Alps.
Okay.
Stowe. Smuggler's Notch. Shout out Smuggler's
But
Notch.
you rarely hear, like, somebody from Toronto would maybe go to Stowe. Like my dad
Okay.
skied in Stowe. But you very rarely hear someone who's sitting in Vancouver.
Yeah, no, I
Heading
was.
out to Stowe.
Yeah, I know. It's
No.
insane.
Damn far when you can drive an hour and a half north.
It's
Yeah.
a Whistler.
Like Whistler.
Got it.
It's insane that I actually know what Stowe is. It's
I
weird.
can't believe we're still
It's like-
talking about Stowe.
bet it's weird.
It's super weird.
Yeah.
I grew up going there.
I can.
I love Stowe. Shout out Stowe.
So what brought you to Toronto originally?
Just proximity to Stowe.
Yes.
Podcast's over.
I originally came out to Toronto because I had recorded an album when I was in Vancouver, and
In your teens?
yeah, I was in my early 20s. I had
Okay.
left university. I went to University of Northern BC in Prince George, BC. Shout out Prince George, BC.
Nice.
And I went back to Vancouver, recorded an album, and then I was like, okay, I recorded an album. You go to Toronto. That's what you do. So I came out here. Was going to continue on in university, so I got into U of T and York, but York's history program's really cool. and good. So I went there. I went to a place called Glendon College, which is their French campus.
I know where that is.
Yeah.
Do you speak
by
French?
where I went to school.
Do I speak French?
The Raptors.
I can read and write French really well, but not really well.
Actually,
either.
that's a convenient campus. That's a better campus than the one up north.
I mean, neither are convenient.
Oh no, neither. No. That's
both
true.
campuses are.
York is built for a tropical city. I can't believe that place flew in.
It's wild. Yeah, it makes no sense. So I moved out here for music, tried to do school, but I mean, the first semester I started here. I got booked a tour in Europe, so I literally had to choose between finishing that semester or doing this tour. So I went on tour. So and then I would go back and forth. Oh, I'm going back to school. And then I'd get booked another thing. I was like, okay, maybe I need to just take some time off school for a bit just to focus on the more important thing.
Yeah.
Music. Yes. So that's why I moved out here originally.
Well, you've got a great voice. Casey played with some of
had it for years.
Some of your music because when I knew Morgan before Old Toronto, back in the early days of social media, Morgan and I have been friends for like a decade, and we used to hit up the event scene, lots of TIFF parties together.
We look good.
Yeah, we were because I would
present tense.
Yeah, we look good. But I mean, yeah, we used to go to lots of parties together and, lots of events, and it was a good time. And I knew you then. That was when your band was Birds of Wales.
Birds of Wales, yeah.
Birds of Wales was your band.
Shout out Birds of Wales.
Yes, but you
how many people in that band?
As a musician before Old Toronto was in
too many.
Lots of bands.
Yeah, I remember the first time I knew who Casie was. I think she was
Shining Shoes.
No, she was like
Shining Shoes with my top off.
Yeah,
she was the social media person at Much Music, though. I think.
Yeah,
were you?
Yeah, I was.
So I remember Much Music like tweeting out like my band stuff, and I remember being like, "Cool," and then I saw you, and you're like, "Oh, that's me." I was like, "Oh,
I posted that tweet on Much Music. That was me."
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh,"
I think there were numerous ones, and then
because I would. There was I'd post new music and stuff, but then I think I was like, "Oh, I actually wrote that tweet."
Yeah,
that's me. That was a thing with actually a lot of bands back then. I was like, "That's me."
It's a good way to meet the boys.
I'm the internet.
Yeah,
send me your pics. I did meet a lot of boys back then.
Yeah. No comment. But yeah, that's how I know Casie originally through that. But
it's Ross with 2 S's. That correction.
Yeah, that was a really exciting time.
Robin Moss or Morgan Ross?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Robin Moss, you have had a recent really cool thing with Old Toronto where you were actually on Murdoch Mysteries, the show, as Robin Moss, but your name is Morgan Ross. And you were actually, they took you as a historian and made you an actual character on the show?
Yeah.
What happened there?
It's very meta. It's very meta.
I love the meta-ness of it.
Here we go. Here's a little bit of it here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Canada's #1 rated drama.
Even better when
it's in its 16th season. As a Canadian historian, I find it a lot of fun. Today we're talking about the real history behind Murdoch Mysteries.
Cool.
Doesn't it look like I'm in some sort of old barn?
Timey.
Old barn?
In this video, I'm going to specifically look at the first 3 episodes.
Oh, that's you.
That is,
including the one introducing
that's Robin Moss,
historian
Morgan Ross,
Robin Moss. I mean,
and in the bottom
Morgan
right
Ross.
there, it's footage of me.
No, it's me.
In Murdoch Mysteries.
Toronto of the era
as a
was still
character
very prominent.
named after myself.
Many people,
Yeah,
it was
I
known
think that I
as
love the
Queen
meta-ness
City.
of it.
Toronto the Good.
Yeah, the meta-ness of it
Season
is
16 of
pretty
Murdoch Mysteries
insane.
takes
So
place at a time
CBC
when
and Murdoch
the
Mysteries
older men had
and
fought in
production
the
company,
Boer War a decade prior, and 4 years before many would head to Europe.
Asked me to do this
fight in the war
series
that would end all
parallel
wars.
the Old Toronto series,
Toronto was
where I look at the real history behind Murdoch Mysteries, the CBC show.
Immigration,
And I was like, cool, this is great. I love Toronto history. This is
ushering
fun.
a different.
And then they were like, well, why don't we put you into the show as a character? I was like, yeah, do that. That's
I remember
Let's
you
start
were
with
like,
episode
I booked a
1.
show, and I was like, oh,
Sometimes
cool.
yeah. I was like, now I'm extra, by the way, which is,
Yeah, it's better.
pros and cons of that. But so then I got the script and it was like Robin Moss. I was like, oh, that's a funny name. And then my wife, I'm pretty sure, was like, Robert,
Little hidden part
that's
of the episode.
like Morgan Ross. I was like, oh my God, that's my name. So
That's cool.
So Morgan Ross, Morgan Cameron Ross, Morgan Ross became Robin Moss in the episode. I mean, it's the cameo. It's only, 45 seconds. But Murdoch this season has 3 cameos. Chris Hadfield, Andre DeGrasse, and Robin Moss. I mean,
Yes.
Morgan Ross.
Great company.
Yeah, I mean, they think so.
Yeah.
Chris Hadfield and Andre,
They think you're,
they were a bit starstruck, obviously, but they're like, oh my God, is that Robin Moss?
Is that old Toronto?
Old Toronto Morgan Ross. But so yeah, we're doing this really cool thing with Murdoch Mysteries where I do these parallel little short mini docs about the real history behind the actual TV series.
Cool.
So, I mean, cool thing with Old Toronto series and what I do is there's so many different little projects that we're working on from all different directions, whether it's for brands, whether it's for TV shows, whether it's for community groups, the city, all these different things that we're able to kind of, either for the wholesome reason of promoting goodwill or for the money because we use it as a marketing tool as well. So, kind of got our fingers in a whole bunch of cool different little things.
Do you put your scene in here? We get to see your scene.
More. The Edwardian building.
I think later on it's in
2
there.
years prior.
See your scene.
Let's see. Where is it? Keep going. Keep going.
As a
Let's see.
dead house. And this is what it
I
looked
don't
like
know.
inside that same.
I can show you.
I
Wait.
definitely
This way.
want-
There it is. There. Go back.
There is
Tiny
always-
bit.
Yeah.
Right there.
Okay. Let's see.
Right here.
I am Morgan Cameron Ross. So
The
Look
audio.
at you on set, Robin Moss.
Rob, wait. Audio. Is the audio working?
Historian on Murdoch Mysteries. Let us raise our glasses to Canada's first international convention of novelists as we write our city a new and glorious chapter in the arts.
Yeah, and then throughout the entire episode, they emphasize Robin Moss.
Yeah, they
on
have
these
it. They
giant
have it on
posters.
posters in the show.
There, right,
wow,
look. So I have those posters at home,
Really?
Oh,
You
that's
got it?
cool.
but they're so big that
And I'm chucking them.
I was like, oh, I'll frame this, and then I realized, oh my God,
$500 for the frame.
yeah, 100%, right?
The frames are pricey.
Yeah,
Frames are so expensive.
Yeah.
to get something. I mean, there's 2 ways of doing it. Either you go to friggin'
Dollarama.
Michael's,
Yeah.
or
Or you
you go to a
take a
Frame
mortgage
store.
out.
You take a mortgage out. John just got he bought all these posters in Austin and then had them shipped home
Yeah.
and then got all this stuff framed. And
Now he's poor.
there was hundreds of dollars.
Oh yeah,
It's more than hundreds.
It
It
was-
was 3-4 things frames,
It was like
$1,000.
8 things. I'm like, are we
Yeah.
going to make our mortgage next
Yeah, no,
month?
exactly.
exactly. So I go to Telegraph on Ossington, the framing store, I remember. So whenever I get something that I want framed, Toronto Star had a 2-page big thing on me a few months ago. Really cool thing. So I was like, I need to get this framed.
Yeah.
2 pages, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of
Oh,
dollars.
yeah.
But the alternative is to get crappy frames and do it myself and make
Yeah,
it
what are
look
you going to
like
do?
crap.
Like a cut and paste job and get
Well, the
those
thing
framed at
is-
Dollarama?
If it's something like that and you really need a custom frame, it's not a great alternative.
Yeah,
it almost doesn't exist.
Either I want it to last and look good, or
Yeah.
do a different size and everything.
Yeah,
like that.
I've always liked to frame those types of things. I actually have all the art in my room upstairs is all art of me. It's all pictures of me, things and articles that I've had. Like,
People think that's vain,
I was
but
like,
I'm
this
proud
is
of it.
my very first piece of art I was published it's drawing I did, and it was for Earth Day, and it's me, and it says I'm cleaning up, and it's I have it framed.
Oh, how old were you?
I was like 5 or 6.
Oh,
and it
that's
said,
amazing.
I'm cleaning up, and Sean's always like, whenever I'm cleaning, he goes, "Oh, I'm cleaning up."
I mean, but that's
I
charming.
mean, it was my first piece of published work. I framed it.
As you should.
Why not?
I need
I guess you don't. Someone makes fun of me. I'm like, well, I guess you haven't had anything published. You wouldn't get it.
I had this giant cover of the newspaper that from my city when I was probably 9, and it was me standing in front of this house that they were trying to tear down, and the whole thing was like, local boy trying to save house, heritage house.
See,
right?
you had.
Yeah, because my dad was my dad was a university archivist. He was a historian, or an archivist. So I was like, more or less, it was my dad trying to save that house in our neighborhood. But when the newspaper came, it's a lot cuter if the 9-year-old Morgan Ross is there.
So when did you actually create your first edited Old Toronto video with the Old Toronto brand? Like how long? And
it was probably about 5 years ago. So I had started Old Toronto just out of being a hobby. I was a musician. I then had, this is probably 2015 or so. I was a musician. I then had a couple songs that did what I considered really well through me and through people I wrote for. So I was kind of presented with a scenario where I had more money than I was used to. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to work for a while. Took time off.
The dream.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I can take time off and not do that. So I was just kind of, enjoying life. But I love Toronto history. I love Canadian history. So I just started my Instagram page, Old Toronto. Mm-hmm. Quite literally just, I love history. I'm going to do a little thing of like, here's a historical photo and here's some context of it. People started following that. Started the Facebook page. I then shot a little video that when I look at it now, I'm horrified. Right? Because I'm just like, I mean, I did it. Yeah. I did it just on my Black Magic.
I thought you were going to say
that's
Blackberry.
A good start.
No, but I had one of those weird Black Magic cameras. They were like a weird brick. Cinema. It was a Black Magic cinema camera. Weirdest shaped camera ever. I mean, it was a beautiful cinema camera. It was, a few $1,000s and everything. But the shot, I did it on Trinity Bellwoods Park. And it was all handheld, but on this silly camera that doesn't work.
Looks like the black box of an airplane.
Yeah, it's stupid. It was the dumbest looking camera ever. So I did that. I did the kind of narration over it. I just did it for fun. And then I posted it on the Facebook page for Old Toronto, which had 10 people. But then it just got shared over and over and over, like thousands of times. And then I did one for Liberty Village, which, again, if I look at it, it's also fairly embarrassing because I was just doing it for fun. Didn't really know what I was doing. But then that got like hundreds of thousands of views and all these people started following. And I was like, okay.
You're like, this is a thing.
Yeah, because no one, as far as I'm aware, no one had ever done like a idiosyncratic video about the history of a specific location. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the interesting things about Old Toronto is when I look at other cities, there are videos out there about the history of certain neighborhoods, but they're typically done by news stations, and they're brief, or short or actual documentaries from something pretty dry.
Right.
Yeah, and boring.
Exact, dry and boring. And what I was like, I'm going to talk about, but what I like is kind of pop culture references, trying to make something, more contemporary.
And that people can learn something in a short period of time.
Exactly. Short, consumable stuff that isn't
short
dry.
And sweet.
Yeah.
Like me.
Short, consumable, wet material.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wetter the better.
Yeah.
So the third one I did was just a different format. I was like, I didn't even have the Old Toronto logo. It was just kind of said Old Toronto. And I did it about the fact that Superman is from Toronto.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Yeah. So, Joe Shuster and stuff. Yeah. So then I did one on like the history of Dufferin Mall.
Oh, yeah. People love the Duff.
Yeah. The dirty Duff, right?
Yeah. Who doesn't?
And then I did one about Sneaky D's. It's like.
Right. Also a legendary.
And then I had something called my Museum of Toronto come in and say, hey, can we hire you to do content or Old Toronto just as like sponsor? I was like, okay. And it was.
Was that a Colin Boyd's project? No. Okay.
But I do know Colin Boyd.
Yeah, I know him too.
Smart guy.
Since I was a kid.
Kitchener.
Yeah, I know him. His mom was my dentist.
Yeah.
There's a little.
Small world.
Did a nice job.
Yeah, thanks. Look at these.
Beautiful teeth.
Thanks. I digress.
Against all your efforts. So
trouble. So that was the moment where I realized that there might be a market for this thing outside of teeth.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was the moment out that I realized that there might be kind of a market for this. So then I was commissioned by Museum of Toronto to do 5 videos. And from there, I was commissioned by Bosley Real Estate to do, literally, I'm in year like 4 or 5 of working with Bosley, and they're great.
Awesome.
It's Ontario's largest independent real estate company. They've got hundreds of agents and stuff like that. They've been around for over 90 years. Wow. So branding wise,
I feel like that's such a good, if you're a real estate company, showing people, I worked in real estate way back, but I feel like showing people the history of the community is a draw for a real estate company. It's a completely great partnership.
Completely on brand. And we've done dozens of neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So Old Toronto series and Bosley Real Estate. I love them. They're my friends. And so that's how I kind of monetized it to a larger extent. We've done a whole bunch of other commissions from, some kind of business improvement associations to the city, to the LCBO, to we even had a Chilean wine brand at one point.
Yeah, I read that.
Carmen Wines. That was a weird one. Shout out wine. So
I'm in my wheezing state. I can't even breathe. I'm laughing so hard. Just a wheeze.
It's like, what's that noise over there? Sounds like a horse making that noise, but like really far away in like a different field.
Yes.
Go outside.
A horse
in a different barn.
A horse in a different field.
There it is. I from Old Toronto
so
beer,
funny.
Pilsner.
Yeah, that's for you. And
this
there's
Old Toronto beer is
rewarding.
It's really quite good.
This
really
wheezing
nice.
is brought to you by
This wheezing and me laughing my head off. It's brought to you by Old Toronto.
You know what's good?
Old Toronto Pilsner, brewed by Long Slice Brewery, Toronto's finest.
You know it's good because it's not quite cold enough, but we're still enjoying.
Oh,
yeah, because
I've enjoyed many of these.
It arrived not too far from before the podcast. One of the things I love about this beer is there are 12 different cans. Like, right, I read on the package, there's 12 cans, and they all have different images of Toronto, Old Toronto. And Morgan, when he got here, told me that if you scan the QR code actually on the can, it goes to a video that he made. And as a content creator who doesn't have their own beer, Morgan, I must say, you have really built something incredibly amazing here. The way you've the content you make, you have close to 1 million followers across all of your platforms. And you have a beer that's in Toronto bars and in the LCBO.
Yeah.
Way to go, bud.
It's an interesting thing. We do, I'm really proud of it because we do your hair right there. There it is. You fixed it. Perfect. Looks great now. I'm really proud of the beer. I think it's just a cool collaboration. We've got, as you said, 12 cans, different historical things in Toronto. We really pride ourselves on having kind of an eclectic mix. We've got one of Chinatown in the 1990s. We've got try to different eras, different ethnic groups, like all these diverse things.
Just showing what really makes Toronto. My favorite one is the old TTC trolley.
Oh yeah. I mean, everyone loves old transit stuff.
And this is Woodbine?
No, that's the old exhibition stadium.
Oh, wow.
Before the Blue Jays got there and made it into...
See? Learn something new just like that.
I am an odd fountain of knowledge.
You really are a fountain of knowledge.
People will go out for a walk with me and they'll either love it or hate it. You know what? They're going to learn about some weird shit, though.
I'm happy every time we hang out with you, Morgan. Seriously, you're really awesome.
I'm full of a whole bunch of knowledge, just not always
sporadic,
very pertinent.
So this is a Kensington morning.
Yeah, there's so many beautiful photos of Kensington Market.
Yeah.
I think because, aesthetically, the market has such... the sun can hit it from different directions. So a lot of the photography there is that. And there's
no tall buildings right in the area.
It's true. But that's actually important because there's not tall buildings in the area. But also the aesthetic of sun beating down on a whole bunch of fruit and people I mean, it's just inherently a beautiful image.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, anywhere.
I mean, it's definitely a better image than an image of a highway. There,
I mean,
Highway that
yeah.
you know, like that's
I mean,
a middle lane.
Spot on with that one.
Yeah.
Way to go, Nell. This is a really fun episode because I'm laughing a lot, and it might be the old Toronto beer. It's just making me feel so happy.
Oh yeah,
It's working for you.
brisk, smooth.
Old Toronto.
Old Toronto.
Were you able to actually trademark Old Toronto?
So it's an interesting thing. I mean, there's a lot of
It's a tricky phrase.
Tricky
old
ones
isn't
because-
exactly
Exactly.
predictable.
So
I mean, Paris Hilton trademark that's hot, so you should be able to do it.
well, I mean, we did.
Also, she's a Hilton.
We have reached. I mean, we have a lawyer that has kind of advised us on a few different things. I will tell you something interesting. I made Google do something because Google came in about 3-4 years ago and started something called Old Toronto, and I made them change it to Old TO.
Google started something Old Toronto.
Yeah.
In what product of theirs?
So they had
Maps?
this kind of it was a map.
Oh.
So they did this really cool
Fuck
thing where
them
they
up.
geo-tagged map thing or geo-located maps where like you could have a map. They had a map and they had historical photos kind of to the location of the actual thing. Very cool, by the way.
Right.
They took it down recently just to piss me off and piss everyone off, I think. But it was so cool.
You
It was
told
through
them who
Sidewalk
Ross-
Labs.
Ross.
We did though. We literally said, and through other people,
Boss.
Karen at Museum of Toronto.
They get a Karen on it.
Yeah. So,
Karen goes
Yeah.
down every time.
so we kind of reached out saying like, "What the heck?" And they
Yeah,
changed
for
it.
sure.
They changed it. I think
That's
to some
nice of-
extent. To some extent, because they were like, Old Toronto series has established itself with a following, and do we really want to be Google trying to tell this organic little follow account like who's
Yeah,
boss?
I mean, it's not something Google could own, so they should probably change it.
Yeah, so they did.
That's what I would
So
say.
we made Google change this thing, and I was like,
Yeah.
heck yeah, that's cool.
Don't mess with me.
Yeah, I mean,
Morgan
don't mess
Ross.
with Old Toronto series. We will stop you from tearing down trees. We will stop you from taking over the thing with this cool map thing.
Mhm.
And we won't let you build a highway through Kensington.
But please
Market.
allow me. But please keep hosting our website or whatever you're doing with my
Yeah,
email.
exactly. Keep my SEO.
Yeah.
Nice.
Keep doing that.
You just keep my page rank
Sorry.
high
Yeah.
and send traffic my way,
Yeah.
and don't demonetize me.
Yeah, don't
from
demonetize me.
traffic.
I love you.
Yeah, don't demonetize me. Fuck
It's actually
you for that.
an interesting idea, though, to overlay your content on a map of the city.
So that's actually
You
a
could
format
go
that's
back
been
to them.
No, but that's a format that a few different apps have done. Really cool concept. It's done in numerous cities. It's been done here. It's never really taken off, and therefore I don't even think whoever's tried to do that has kept it up.
Mm-hmm.
Because the real thing is
Is that a different place in the city? I like the beer to be all one place.
Oh God,
I gave you some beer from the
which beer?
beach.
This Chris
I gave you
Pilsner right here.
Yeah.
This Chris Pilsner from Long Slice Brewery.
I've
I
got
gave
some
you.
Kensington in here.
I- this is
Oddly
all-
smooth and perfect.
It is very smooth because here I am.
Old Toronto
with all
Pilsner,
these beers. This is
the finest
cover- the
historical
cover
beer
photo
you've
for
ever
the-
seen.
the podcast is. This is the podcast where Casie drinks the most beer
Oh, yeah.
that she's ever drank on a podcast
There's 8 empty cans behind her right now,
under my desk.
just under the table.
What kind of worker are you? The worst.
Well, it's a good testament to the beer because Casie knows her way around a beer.
I do. I know my way
No
around
comment.
here.
No comment.
Morgan, thank you for
I
that.
support whatever Casey says.
Thank you for no commenting on my enjoyment of beer.
Smooth, crisp, goes down
Any
easy.
of you.
Ever since that Much Music tweet, he's just,
Listen, Morgan's known me for
Really paid
over
off.
10 years. And
Way more
I,
than 10 years.
yeah.
Casey says over 10 years when it's closer to probably like 18.
Yeah.
I just say 10
Been a
years.
long
Like,
time.
I just say, oh, I've been blogging for over 10 years. It's like literally closer to 20. I try not to make me look old.
Yeah, you try and ride the line between, too old and fresh.
Yeah. And also experience.
Blogging for over 2 years.
You know what's fresh? Old Toronto Pilsner. Absolutely.
My mom's going to listen to this and go, Casie, you should only have one.
It's got that crisp thing. Well, you just hear it when you finish it.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
If it wasn't good,
from the mountains of Stowe.
Yeah, Stowe Mountain.
Yeah, you're right.
I feel like anyone listening to this,
brisk.
I love.
It's brisk,
yeah,
baby.
I love it. It's brisk. Yeah, really great.
So you guys talk a lot about marketing and everything on here, which is amazing. I think. So Old Toronto. We do a whole bunch of different things, which I'm really proud about. So yes, we have the beer. Yes, we have the Instagram, the Facebook, the YouTube, the Twitter, and everything like that. But we also, as I said, we do commission work for clients wanting to do historical content. But I will only agree to it if I believe it's valid. I mean, we recently had a developer reach out to us, with a whole bunch of money. But they wanted me to more or less position something as that it would be okay to tear down this historically important building. And I had
That's not going to fly.
Oh, yeah. I was like,
don't bark up that tree.
Exactly. So I was like, I don't believe in what you're trying to sell, so I won't do that. But, it's always that.
So you are not for sale.
I'm as long as something fits what I care about, I am for sale.
Well, you know what? I'm like that too. Totally. Like I don't do a lot of brand partnerships anymore. I'm more on the as being like a full-time influencer retirement. Like if I want to work with something, I want it to be like really organic and fun. And like I love doing the podcast. We don't have a beer sponsor yet. Hello.
Yet.
But I mean, I'm like that is an organic thing that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's like, I'm not just like throw crap at me and I'll just pay to post.
Yeah.
That's not for me.
Who needs those trees?
Yeah.
I want to save
I want to save as many trees as possible.
Yeah, me too. I would hug them.
So we're pretty strict on like, heck yeah. I don't even know what that means. Yeah.
Case would get out that chainsaw.
I know.
I'm just going to be
cut down
enjoying my ice cold brisk.
I was saying I would
Old Toronto Pilsner right now.
I would hug the tree. Even with my shirt off, I would hug the tree.
Well, the brands that, the brand partnerships that you've done have made a lot of sense, but there's a lot more that I can think of that would just be, you'd be such a great way for them to connect to the community so easily.
Yeah. So that's
wonderful.
Yeah. That's one of the cool things where it's like, what we bring is positivity, or what I consider positivity, in terms of it's not always flattering. I mean, I was talking to one of the universities in the city, their marketing department, and they want to work with us. And I was saying, sure, yes, I know you have some really unflattering things in your past, but you have a great opportunity of addressing that in a manner that is respectful to everybody, in terms of right off the bat, hey, let's acknowledge these negative things, but then let's position that where you authentically and honestly acknowledge those things, and then start discussing the more positive things like that. So from a marketing and branding and point of view, there's ways to frame historical things that are difficult in a manner that's going to position kind of a positive outreach to the public or whatnot. So there's ways to address historical stuff like that. So, I mean, we've worked with quite a few organizations and brands and stuff like that, and there's so many others that we could, because I find that interesting and important, like acknowledging past problems, but figuring out how to respectfully acknowledge it while also hopefully moving forward from it. Mm-hmm. And so from a marketing point of view, I think, as long as they're actually open to acknowledging the reality of some past negative stuff, I'm open to working with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not going to hide shit. I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
It's not in my interest either. It's just like, as long as an organization comes and is authentic and open to acknowledging the reality, I think there's ways to move past some difficult history behind it.
Especially because it's not like these people employed by the organization are running it today are like literally the ones involved with their past.
Yeah, like our forefathers.
It's like it's not them.
Exactly. So I mean,
but I think it's like that's one of the things about being like a really good content creator or like a brand partner. When it comes to like, you know, if you're going to work with someone, it's like you got to find a way to do storytelling that is authentic and.
But it's very hard to build a positive bridge into the future if you're not actually going to be honest and acknowledge and talk about.
Yeah, you got to be on
past.
that bridge.
Exactly.
You know?
And I really
got to build that bridge and get on it.
And I think, exactly. So that's why I was talking in the university about that. I was like, yes, you have a complicated past, but this is really something that you can approach and, in my opinion, move forward from. Because if you honestly do this, say, here are some tangibly negative things from our past. Look at how negative this is.
Mm-hmm.
We take this seriously. We've addressed, or we are addressing, how unacceptable that is. Here, and we want to move forward and be a positive force in the world. And there's ways to do that as long as you. I mean, it's kind of like that 8 Mile movie with Eminem, where he's just like, I know what you're going to make fun of me for in your rap.
So
I'm just going to talk about all the negative, my difficulties.
Yeah, and then I'll steal all your material.
Exactly. So, but from a marketing point of view with historical content, it's almost the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But not to demean the negative aspect of their past. But what I'm saying is properly address it before people can really criticize it. I think the marketing within...
Yeah, take ownership.
Take ownership and authentically take ownership.
Right.
I mean, I will only work with brands and people that authentically are realizing the errors of their past.
Right.
I mean, I care about the overall content of what I do and history more than I care about working with someone that's just trying to
make a buck or get some money.
Reality.
No, it's
not about
making
that.
It's
just
like, why work with an organization that can't look themselves in the mirror and be authentic and honest?
And I don't want to, and
right.
I haven't, and I won't. So it's just, and I would tell them, like, you guys are going to burn bridges before making any new bridges if you don't properly address this stuff.
Yeah,
and I mean, I'm actually really lucky. I've never worked with any group. Now that said, I've turned down groups that I didn't believe were good enough, right? But there's so many groups, companies, organizations that actually are authentically wanting to acknowledge and move forward and deal with a whole bunch of these things. But as you said before, there's Old Toronto can work with a whole bunch of different partners and stuff like that. I believe it. We do a whole bunch of stuff. We've had success and cool relationships with so many of the partners we've worked with. There's so many that come to mind that we could work with moving forward. That are all slam dunks, whether it's ancestral, like ancestry.ca or like
anyone who's like
anything
anything that's related to history.
Anything like that. Or just brands with a history behind it.
Yeah, with a rich history.
I mean, there's these kind of, I don't know if the term's legacy brands, but these...
Yes, legacy brands. That's the term.
Yeah, so the legacy brands of these companies that have been around for so long, where you can acknowledge your past, whether it's entirely positive or negative.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had a song I had the theme song for Roger's 50th anniversary about 7 years ago. It was their 50th anniversary, and my song was like...
The song,
my song with...
That's cool.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like...
my band was called
like
Bellwoods.
Morgan.
Live it up, Bellwoods. Shout out me.
Yeah.
And
I'd
Alan.
like to thank me, Morgan.
Should like
I
to
love
say
that.
shout out to Alan Alan and I had a band called Bellwoods, and the song was Live It Up. But it was the theme song for Roger's 50th anniversary. And at the end of it, it said, we've had a past. Sometimes we or I don't know. He said, sometimes we failed. Sometimes we were okay. Sometimes we excelled. But we're working on moving forward. And that kind of struck me as this interesting marketing thing of, I love it. Just where like, it's smart. Yeah. We have a brand that a lot of people have animosity towards. So just go out there and say it. Yeah, we've screwed up a whole bunch of times.
We know you've been on hold.
Yeah.
I've never been with Rogers my entire life. So.
Well, I mean, it's, people's opinions on telecommunication companies.
Oh, that's a strong
We're all
topic.
angry.
Everyone's mad.
We're all angry.
We know you've been on hold. We know you can't explain your bill.
Yeah, we know you don't know what you've been charged for.
We're trying.
No, I do not want to talk with the bot in your website. That isn't
take me to the
you are not
close
human.
your account department.
Yeah.
That's me. I mean, I've never actually had to do that, but I mean, that's what I tell people to do. Take me to
I
the
used to be
account.
with Rogers, and I remember I got into a groove. Then I used to just pick up the phone and finally get somebody, and I go, I got to speak to retention.
Yeah. Like the retention
right
department.
to retention.
What is retention?
Retention's
Retention is the
basically
department where you're about to cancel.
yes, it's the last
customer.
It's
the
basically
last step.
the person
I'm going to
who
remember that.
It's
one.
on the. You're on the plank.
Yeah,
You're about to jump.
Exactly.
You're like,
It's the
I'm gonna
person
swan dive off
who
this
has
boat.
the widest, breadth of ways to keep you.
That's a great thing to
They
know.
have
Yes.
all the discounts and they have all the don't jump on the lifeboat. We will save you. We will decrease your bill.
Yes.
We will give you more Wi-Fi, higher data. What else can we do to keep you?
Yeah.
Bitch.
Yeah.
You know what actually is a service that is quite nice, and I
Someone
appreciate
negotiating that for you?
it. No, when they go, you don't have to stay on hold. We'll call you back.
Oh, I love a callback.
I love the callback.
That always kind of bugs me. And I don't know why.
The callback?
Maybe it's because I just don't like these companies.
I don't like. I mean,
they could say anything. Hey, do you want some pizza? It's like, fuck you.
You're so fun.
Pizza and a callback?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Callback.
At least
Would you like a
romance.
cuddle? No. Fuck
No.
you.
You know, actually, what I would like is if these companies purposely worked hours that no one else worked. Like they should start their day at 5. You know what I mean?
Why are you
Like a pizza company.
Who has time to call at 11 on Tuesday and to wait for 2 hours?
Right.
Bitch, I'm on a call.
It's
Assholes.
crazy.
That's who.
Yeah.
Shout out assholes.
Oh, well, I've been one. It's okay. It's not a permanent thing.
Oh, do you want to? You guys wanted to see a couple of those videos that
I'd
you
love to.
Let's do that.
Let's do it.
What's the other one that you wanted to see? You want to do the pizza one? So this was a series
Before we get there,
Yeah.
as like a person who's living McDonald's pizza.
shout out livers.
Shout out to human beings who are alive. If you were alive in the 80s and the 90s, you will know that McDonald's
Which you
pizza.
weren't.
I was alive in the 90s, and McDonald's pizza was like a really cool thing.
It was a cultural moment.
Yeah, it was a cultural moment, and people are very extremely nostalgic, especially millennials are highly nostalgic
the late
about
1980s and early
McDonald's pizza.
1990s.
And it's like one of the most popular questions because I follow them on Twitter. It's like,
Those-
when is pizza coming back? People are like, when is pizza?
And the answer is it won't.
No,
because
it's never.
if-
And Morgan did a
so
video about
let me
it, and that's why.
Let me set this up though. So, I was so I have old Toronto series, old Canada series, and then I was trying to do something outside of old, Canadian content. So I started something called Coffee, Dogs, and History, which I've sort of just kind of abandoned because whether it's lack of time or, I just never really figured out what I was going to do. As I said, we've got like 160,000 followers on Facebook, all these things like that. It's just kind of sitting there because I've kind of put it on hold. But one of the first things I did was I shot a mini documentary about the history of McDonald's pizza. Long story short, there were 2 locations in the world that through a loophole were still allowed to be making McDonald's pizza until
oh
about
my God, you
3 years ago.
kidding. I want that
3 or 4 years ago.
pizza.
One in West Virginia. It was a single guy. He had
Is he still single making pizza?
it was a single guy. It's just by himself making pizza at his own McDonald's.
Where is he?
Not
He's
even
married
any
now,
customers. So through a loophole in his agreement with with McDonald's, in his franchise agreement, he was technically allowed to continue making McDonald's pizza.
Wow.
He had a location in West Virginia and one in Ohio. So I drove down to Ohio and West Virginia. So that's how we
You just
shot.
drove down there. You're like, fuck it. Let's get to the bottom of this pizza story.
Yeah, I did.
Don't mess with me in the history of pizza.
There's an interesting ending to this video, but
I mean, I have a tattoo of pizza, so I'm like diehard.
oh, fuck yeah.
Don't mess.
Anyway, so we
They
did
didn't
this.
mess with pizza.
We did this little mini doc and stuff like
If a
that.
person looks back to the late
Maureen
1980s
Cameron Ross,
and early
there you go.
1990s, they think of rollerblades, neon, these things, those shoes,
Yes.
and McPizza.
Oh, this is
Yes,
you.
That's
McDonald's pizza. Today we're
The
talking about the
legend,
history
even the
of
logo
McDonald's
to me is so
Yeah, it's
iconic.
iconic.
The iconic pizza logo is. You've never had it so good. Why can't they make them and just like frozen?
Oh, yeah,
like Teroni. Can't they make a frozen pizza like Teroni?
Yeah, they're the new one. Yeah,
That
I've
cardboard
been getting.
box,
Look at
that
this.
logo,
Yeah.
that crispy crust is wedged deep within the memories of many of us, especially if you are of a certain age. I remember vividly going to McDonald's with my
Oh, look at
parents
that,
in
Josh.
Vancouver, BC, and
Yeah.
opening the little box with the personal pan pizza.
Mhm.
But my nostalgia
Oh my
for
God,
the
this is
super
me.
successful
Wow, they were big.
Oh yeah.
They had a large and
You had a whole za. You don't remember this? Oh, you may be too young.
Yeah, no, lucky me.
Oh no. Oh, sorry.
No, I didn't remember
You're too
this.
much of a baby. You know, remember.
This was a huge cultural thing.
Oh yeah, this would. That's a lot of new equipment, though. They would have had to
Exactly.
bake something.
I mean,
that big. That's a big pizza.
I don't want to spoil the end of
I can
this video.
understand something.
People can go to
little.
Old Toronto Series on
yeah, you
YouTube,
can watch the whole video.
and I put it up there through Old Toronto Series.
Wow, look at this. Who's this guy?
It's the
I don't
pizza,
know.
Pizza
I
Daddy.
just call him Pizza Daddy.
Look at those lenses. Those are serious lenses.
Those are the pizza glasses.
Yeah, those are pizza glasses.
Those or
'Cause
Terry
those pizzas
Richardson.
were so hot that they needed to wear those awesome glasses.
Oh yeah.
That's why I'm wearing these
Dub
glasses
Charney
right
or
now.
Terry Richardson or Pizza Daddy. They're all kind of the same.
Oh, fuck yeah. Anyway, so we did that documentary about...
Salad for $1.59.
Yeah, I was thinking $1.59 for a salad.
Okay,
Take me
I'm
back.
focusing on the branding of that logo because that Pima logo is sick, right? It says Pima.
Oh yeah. So
yet non-successful.
where did the dogs come in? This is what? What's
Oh
the
yeah,
name of
keep
this?
going. Well, I mean,
Is apparently
go
shared by
ahead.
Oh my
many.
God.
And it's also why
Oh,
Hey,
she loves it.
The dogs.
Damn.
Our dogs are in this.
Clearly, what
That's not
time
the-
was
that's
this
not the
picture
best photo,
taken?
right?
What
Look,
time was this
loving
picture
that
taken?
pizza.
Look, look.
Because that sounds like
Many of
me.
I went to West Virginia for this.
Oh
thing.
wow.
Yeah, I can't believe you
Yeah,
traveled to
iconic
get the
Pima
pizza
logo.
story.
You have
He
to.
said McDonald's
How's
tastes
dedication?
far
Tastes
more
great
common.
together. You know what? That could also
Let's
be used
start
for like a.
Here.
Look,
The late
want to learn about pizza
1970s in
history?
Wisconsin. One of McDonald's greatest strengths is its willingness to try, and often fail,
I really
adding
enjoy
new
your
items
voice.
to their menus. You see, their business model revolves heavily around testing markets, or as they call it, regional testing. In the late 1970s, McDonald's
Oh, yeah.
tested the pizza waters.
Wait, if you go ahead,
or ovens, I guess. In Wisconsin,
Actually, go ahead to
along the interstate
near the end,
locations
near the
surrounding
end, near the end,
Milwaukee
near the end.
and Madison, with personal-sized pizzas. By all accounts,
little
this
bit
did not
further.
take off. For
Keep
one
going
thing,
back, keep going back.
and this will be a
that way.
problem with their later pizzas, it took too
now about
Fast
let's
forward to
see.
the mid-
Did you go and get one?
McDonald's ruled the
Look at
roost,
this.
dominating
Right here?
fast food
Keep
markets
going
around the
another-
world.
There.
But despite
What?
that,
Let's see what's
spotted.
there. Oh, go back about 30 seconds.
So this is the location with a pizza.
Actually,
still.
go about 30 seconds before that. Before that.
full Michigan, and finally,
Okay.
So get this.
and I grabbed my dog some coffee and I headed south. I drove from right here.
I love that you did the map.
Oh wow.
Toronto to Pizzaville.
Yeah, I mean, who loves pizza more than that? Get in the car, see you
Just
9
my
hours
dogs.
later.
My dogs love that pizza.
In Toronto, south through beautiful Michigan, and finally, Ohio and
You're
West
so
Virginia.
wholesome in your
Just
narration.
before I arrived
Yeah,
down
you
to the
really are.
location, something
Who is
tragic
filming
happened.
that over the
When
shoulder?
the internet
Cool.
found out about
Okay,
the two
good.
remaining locations, people stepped out, and perhaps
Better
even
be
more
your wife.
importantly, corporate headquarters took note and put a stop to it just before
What?
my arrival.
Right before I got there, McDonald's put a halt on it.
Motherfuckers.
So they had just stopped it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's almost like they knew.
They knew. I think more or less they knew I was coming.
I mean, Old Toronto's pretty popular.
And they literally put a cease and desist for that guy, knowing that I was coming. And it was one of the worst days of my life.
So you drove all that way to not get a pizza.
I didn't get pizza.
No pizza?
You know what, though?
Did you get pipizza somewhere else?
Did you end up eating anything at McDonald's when you got there?
I did. I just had kind of a Big Mac, I'm pretty sure. But, you know, here's the thing.
What's your go-to?
Here's the thing.
Big Mac's a win.
I found out that they had put a halt to it, like, while en route to the thing. But, full disclosure, my wife and I were driving through the States for months at the time with our 2 dogs. So we were also doing other things. So it really...
This was just part of your journey.
We were shooting a little mini documentary that I haven't finished yet about the history of Pizza Hut architecture.
Oh my God. Let me know when that is available.
And the repurposing of Pizza Hut buildings.
It's a whole, like...
So
it's a hut.
Yeah.
It literally is a hut.
So the repurpose, one of the things that I really like is all the repurposed Pizza Hut buildings out there. I mean, Orangeville, Ontario has a Hakeem Optical that's now...
used to be a Pizza Hut?
Yeah, it used to be. And now they just painted it orange and stuff. But when you go into it, it still says on the doors, it's that Pizza Hut solid metal thing with the Pizza Hut logo.
Can I get that metal door handle? Can I rip it off or buy it? Because I feel like I'd love to have metal Pizza Hut door handle.
Pizza Hut buildings have been repurposed all around North America. It's just
eBay
a thing. So a lot of them became like Sushi Hut and weird shit like that.
Yeah. Pizza Hut, Sushi Hut, you know.
I love it. I love that weird pop culture stuff. So we drove around North America just kind of like, you know, having fun and pursuing things that we found interesting and shooting like little mini docs about it, just more or less for fun because we were like, cool, whatever. We're taking time off the world. Doing that. So that was one of the things that I did with outside of Old Toronto. Kind of I don't want to say failed. I just kind of gave up on it.
I think you should bring it back. I love that.
I mean, I love the content.
The history of like. I would be really interested in fast food history because, like, I mean, I love, like, especially like the history of McDonald's and like the playlands at McDonald's. And like me growing up, one of the things that was like my mom was at home on when I was growing up, and like on Fridays, sometimes everyone's watching like brings a Happy Meal, and I was like so cool at school because like I got a Happy Meal and like my mom brought me lunch, and I still have hundreds of Happy Meal toys that are unopened.
We all have.
They're all unopened in my basement. They're unopened.
Oh, that's actually.
I got the Barbies. I got Barbies. I even got Beanie Babies unopened in the package.
Why didn't you open it?
Because I thought they might have value one day.
That's fucking genius.
Creeping into
weird.
that day.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm like 200. They're not going to have enough value till I'm 200 years old, but. I mean, they do have some. I've got like Barbies, and I've got like you have to have if you have 200 like a full
years
set.
From now? I mean, some of the toys my ancestors got at medieval times, a few hundred years ago. They used to package these little sticks and stuff like that. These little guillotines. Fucking awesome.
I love a guillotine. No, just kidding.
Packaged guillotines.
Oh my God, so fun. So awesome.
I think you guys wanted to see one other video.
Yeah, let's hop into the next video here.
So the next one is the one I did with one of my buddies, Noah Reed, who...
I love this one.
It started out as
so I just did this one.
Theater, part of the Allen Theaters chain, and it was in the middle of nowhere at the time. In this video, I teamed up with Toronto actor and singer Noah Reed to talk about the history of...
What are some things Noah Reed's in?
Schitt's Creek.
Oh, he's okay.
He's like the boyfriend in Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
In the logo, what's the bridge?
It's the gates at Trinity Bellwoods.
Oh, okay.
Of those gates.
Oh,
what a
there
great
they are.
brewery.
Brisk,
what a great
smooth.
Yeah, that's a great beer. I mean,
very
status.
Why did it?
The facade of it is more or less the same. One of the cool things is that logo.
So for this video, I just released it recently. It was Noah. So Noah and I,
Allen's Theater. Oh, there we go.
Released this video.
Kind of remaining things, but
just looking at the history of the Danforth Music Hall.
New and stuff like that.
I used to live right by there. That was the first place I lived in Toronto, right on Broadview.
Awesome. So
hey, I'm Noah Reed. I'm here in the Danforth Music Hall with.
So the concept for this one was.
Is the boyfriend? Okay, I remember how.
Wait. We have.
So the concept of this was.
Not yet.
I look at the history of a venue with an artist because he's a musician as well. And he had a show that week at the Danforth, sold out 1,600,
It's a good concept.
Screaming
I like
people.
that concept.
To take an artist to a historical place, tell them to walk through the history of it. I mean, I also, outside of them, I do like a little mini doc, but also do the walkthrough. If you want to go, say, halfway through this video, you'll see that Noah and I are walking through. Try there. Yeah, try this.
A little earlier?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, let's do that.
Whoa.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. There.
It's a comedy, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Right after that. But so just hold on this one. So Noah and I go.
Heath Ledger on
We walk through the theater right after this.
I think it was.
Right there. Wait. So Noah and I walk through the theater.
Is that a little creepy door?
We're on the roof.
Okay.
Yeah. Walk through here.
Recognize that case?
You don't know I love a creepy little door.
Oh. But watch this. Right here.
Wow.
Coming up. The revealing shot right there.
So they're
you go.
humped through here.
Oh my God.
So we're in between the ceiling and the roof of the old theater.
Oh, I see.
Wow, that's cool.
100-year-old theater. We're walking through the whole thing.
Wow, that's so...
Not the time to flick a cigarette anymore.
Yeah.
No smoking.
Yeah.
Casey, stay outside.
So it's kind of got this like not mystery, but this kind of detective kind of thing. Let's find out the history of this space.
I love the vibe.
Yeah.
It's just the big old.
So it's just Noah and I shooting the shit, walking around, looking at the history of the space, kind of talking about the history of the building, his experience and history, watching shows there and all that stuff. If you can go fast forward to,
It's got to be a
so at the end of it, the concept also goes, keep going to his performance. So go back,
so cool.
right there. Let's try it there. So at the end of it, I do a full acoustic. So I shot this.
Wow, you shot this?
Yeah.
What are you shooting this on? DSL.
I've got a GH6 and a GH5 on this one. So
Looks
just
nice.
a couple Panasonics there.
But this you shoot in 4K?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
Morgan's like, obviously, I dropped 4K.
So we just do like a live performance at the end of it. So I did this video as a proof of concept of like, this is a cool idea. Maybe we'll go and get a sponsorship to do like a series of this. So,
Yeah,
for sure.
More content like that.
Yeah.
I really love your your business acumen and desire to like, I'm going to do something and then I'm going to use that as something to pitch to other brands, because like that's something that I did a lot for myself when I was like making a name for myself in the early days of social media. I was like, well, I'll use me as the product, as the service, and I'll just like make something. And that's what really helped me build relationships with brands, to know how I could do the content. Just like,
Exactly.
just get out there and fucking do it.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, man, that'd be a cool idea. And I was talking with Noah, and I saw that he had a show the following week at Danforth. And I was like, hey,
This building's fucking old. Let's
do you want to go and like do a little video about the history of the building? He was like, yeah. So I was like, okay. So then I quite literally, I was like, why don't I try to see if this is like a format? So I went to him again and I was like, texted him and I was like, why don't we do this as this format? I kind of walk through the history of this venue with you. We talk about that. I mean, I shoot kind of a mini documentary within it, and then we have you performing at.
Great format.
Yeah, I think it's a cool thing where it's kind of this like mixture of performance and also just kind of hunting through historical things, but also a short mini doc where you actually get the thing.
Yeah, you're like your own Murdoch Mysteries. It's like Morgan Mysteries.
No, but you know what? That's a format that can apply to any city, anywhere. It's such 100%. A brilliant one.
Or on a national or international level. So 100%. I was thinking of that. I was like, man, maybe I'll just go and, I mean, I'm in talks with other people and slightly different concept about that. But, I mean, one of the things I was thinking of is like I do historical venues with artists, but I was like, it doesn't even need to be, musicians. I was like,
writers, poets.
I know
Comedians.
I know Russell Peters a bit, and he's a huge Old Toronto fan. I was like, I bet Russell would
for sure
be
you
like,
got some BD.
I bet Russell would be like, yeah, that's fucking cool because he loves Toronto history
for sure.
And then I could do it at whatever venue that he is like has an affinity to, and then we just shoot him doing like a 2-minute monologue of some sort.
Yeah.
In like an interesting space, not on the stage, but we did it in the middle of the room.
Right.
Instead of on the stage.
Yeah, that was out ahead of the in front of the stage.
It's where all the people stand, all the fans stand. Because I wanted it to, be pretty lame to have a giant room and he's on the stage instead of this interesting spot.
Yeah, make it more intimate.
And just interesting and unique, right? So, it doesn't have to be about musicians. It could be about, it could be like Margaret Atwood at the Rivoli. I don't know. Let's do that.
Oh my God. That is like, sign me up.
Yeah.
I'm fucking there.
Something like interesting stuff that
why would I talk like
YouTube
this
channel?
now?
On the YouTube channel.
F yeah.
Oh my God.
F.
I'm ready.
So that's a great thing looking forward.
Yeah, that's like what's next for Old Toronto.
I don't know. I just keep coming up with concepts and like some of them work and some of them don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, trial and error.
Minimum, that's how I keep being creative because quite literally I told my wife, I was like, I needed to do artistic stuff. So that's why I was talking with Noah. I was like, I want to shoot just some like performance thing. And then I was like, man, but it's such a cool idea to do the history stuff too. So I was like, okay,
yeah,
I'm going to do that too. But I'm sure both of you know this. It's like, if you're all business and all this stuff and you're not doing something artistic, you go crazy.
Yeah, that's the story of my life.
Right. So
I got to keep a balance.
Okay. Need to do something interesting and cool. And my camera guy on that shot, on that last video was my neighbor, Nathan. Cool dude. And
the lefty or the righty?
The asshole conservative or the
No. This is the yoga guy in front of me right there.
Okay.
Yeah. No, the yoga guy in front of me, and he did it. He just did it on spec because there was no funding for that thing. Don't get me wrong. He got some beautiful ice cold Old Toronto Pilsner out of it.
And who would not?
And I took him out a few days later, but
you'll lure Casie away.
Point being, he was helping out because of the art of it. I was like, point being, us artists on this side of the table.
What do you pay? 8 beers.
Oh, Old Toronto Pilsner.
That's not how I
I've been paid in less beautiful
I've been
beers.
paid in less by better. No, because that's that thing. I've been called worse by better. It's like a diss. But I've been paid in less.
I've been paid very little by many.
But yeah, I've been paid in less by many. Also, I love it.
I feel we're paying Morgan a lot to come on this show.
It's worth it.
We're making magic happen. Morgan, I really am so excited to have had this entire conversation. We almost talked for 2 hours.
Yeah, it just awesome having you here.
I'm able to stay here for another few hours.
You're Old Toronto. We're going to be here until we're in the history
of a whole case of this beer.
Oh, yeah.
Morgan Ross.
You guys can leave. I'll just stick around.
Morgan,
Bob, you're welcome here anytime.
Come hang out.
Recite poetry and.
I can recite some of my poems, which I probably have done
Sam
for you.
McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows. Why he left his house in south to Rome, God only knows. Sorry.
I'm sure I recited some of my poems.
Just gonna do Robert Service stuff for the next 3 hours.
You know what, Morgan? I would love to have an Old Toronto radio show because I used to listen to Alan Cross and the history of new music, and until I met him once, and he had his texting audio on, and he sat very wide leg spread in a public media event. I have never listened to the history of music again after that. I was like,
well, then I'm gonna
they're texting on.
I'm gonna avoid telling him that because him and I have been working on a book for the last while about the top 100 music events in Toronto in Canadian history.
I loved him, and then he texted too loud beside
Alan,
me.
I'm totally disagreeing with her.
This part's going to get cut out.
Though? It doesn't need to be in the sense that click texting, like you have the sound.
Like you have the text, like.
So the sound on, legs spread was
and
just
like
a no-go.
It was in
Look,
media
it's good.
event where everyone.
I don't know about the legs or the noise thing.
And I'm like sitting beside him, and like everyone has their own seat, and I'm like, bro, like, can you like? I'm sitting like this. Can you not like put your leg on my seat area?
I mean, as long as he stands around me, that's cool.
Fair. And I was like, I have loved your show. Okay, this part is not going to be in the podcast, but it's going to be a really funny clip.
Look,
like, oh no!
You know what? If a girl is saying that, coming from the heart,
I was like, I have loved your show like for like over 10 years. Like I love listening to it. I loved listening to your voice, and you just turned me off in a way that was like, I was like, so you're just public social gestures of the way that you were.
Put a link to a tutorial that turned those clicks off, and
yeah.
Okay, let's
start a campaign of just texting Alan Cross of how to turn the volume of his
it's like
clicks off.
FYI. Okay, we're gonna do the ending, but I want to make sure this part is really funny, but I want to do like a nice ending so that we have like a really cute ending. Okay, Morgan, I'm so glad that you came and talked with us about Old Toronto. I also obviously love your Old Toronto beer.
Smooth, crisp.
It is smooth.
This is a very rewarding goodbye. Just like how rewarding this
it is delicious.
Pilsner is.
The very last sip of that glass is.
The first sip is beautiful. The last sip is a little sad because you need more.
It has been.
Well, thanks to you, we have a lot more.
Thanks
and
to
also,
Long Slice Brewery for that, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I mean, like what you've done with Old Toronto is so exciting. I know that, like, there's so many people who follow Old Toronto, and I'm like, oh my god, I know that guy. He's my friend, and
the power of nerddom.
Yeah, like I'm your proud friend, and I'm so glad to have you on our podcast, and I'm excited to see what's next for Old Toronto, and also let me know when you launch merch.
I mean, thanks for having me. I think, as I said before, talking about history is cool. I believe that the promotion of history has the power to improve communities, neighborhoods, cultures, cities, and I think that's why I do it. But outside of that, there's a lot of marketing, aspects that I find helpful to pay my life and everything like that.
Yeah, of course.
But anyways, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Beautifully said. And any brand is very lucky to be associated with.
Thank you very much.
Well, Toronto forever.
Yeah, for life. For life. Shout out, life.
Thanks for tuning into this episode with Morgan. Follow Old Toronto on Instagram and check out his videos on YouTube.
For more episodes, visit castofcreators.com, subscribe on YouTube, or find us on your favorite podcast platform.